comply with federal law. You have to have programs that tell children in elementary school that it's okay that you have a penis and you feel like a girl. And we can call you Mary if you want to be called Mary instead of Billy. There is no federal law. These lawyers are lying. But the teachers' union isn't going to challenge them. They are there with communist support. They're there to tear down the education system, to tear down the family unit, to tear down the American way of life. Now, the founder of this organization, Mr. Bean, he's come under scrutiny recently. He was just arrested. He's the founder of this human rights campaign. Terrence Patrick Bean. He was arrested for raping a 15-year-old boy. That's right, for raping a 15-year-old boy. He's the one that heads the organization that's trying to push the homosexual agenda into our schools. And he's been arrested for raping a 15-year-old boy. Do the corporate sponsors, do the corporate donors to the HR campaign know how this works? That these perverts are indoctrinating our young children to accept homosexuality so that when they get approached by an adult, they won't think there's anything wrong with it? So that when an adult teacher takes them into the cloakroom and has sex with them, they'll think it's okay because we just saw a movie that said it's okay. Minneapolis, Anoka, Hemington schools are considering this type of an issue. One pushed by the radical homosexual group Out Front, Minnesota. Parents are beside themselves. Some took out a full-page ad in the Star Tribune with this headline: "A male wants to shower beside your 14-year-old daughter. Are you okay with that?" Hell no, we're not okay with it. And folks, if you have children, if you have grandchildren, for the love of God, get involved in their school. Find out what they're teaching them. Find out what's going on in your schools, in your school districts. This guy, Jeffrey Terrence Bean, is not the first of the gay activists to get busted for this. Now, bear in mind, not every gay man is a pedophile, but studies indicate demonstrably that homosexual assaults against boys occur at an alarming disproportionate rate when compared with heterosexual assaults. But just 2 years ago, 68-year-old Larry Birkin, another high-profile and similarly connected, both of these men are large donors to the Democratic Party. They are both huge supporters of President Obama. He takes money from pedophiles. And he was also, Larry Birkin, was also a homosexual activist. He was arrested in San Francisco for possessing and distributing reams of child pornography. Reams, not a couple of pictures. Police say that Birkin, a former city employee, apparently had photos of children as young as 1 or 2 performing sexual assaults, sexual acts, and being sodomized by adult men. And the pictures were all attached to emails in his name. The cases of Bean and Birkin follow a long-established pattern as old as the ancient Greek bathhouses. The very act of a man molesting a boy unquestionably involves both same-sex attraction and homosexual behavior. Consider, for instance, a study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior of over 200 convicted pedophiles. It found that 86% of offenders against males described themselves as homosexual or bisexual. This LGBT agenda is out to get our children. They are out to get Christians. They fund with the money they get from Staples and these other companies. They do lobbying. They attack anybody that stands up for pro-family values. Folks, we've got a lot more coming up. Please stick with us. We'll be right back.
Tom O'Halloran has a not-so-common core spelling lesson for the Obama administration. Ready? There is no K in America.
There's kids that can't pray in school, $100 tanks of gas. I can tell you right now, this country ain't supposed to be like that. No, that ain't my America. That ain't this country's roots. You wanna slam, hold on to Sam, but I ain't letting you. Yeah, I'm mad as hell, and you know I still bleed red, white, and blue. They ain't us, and that ain't my America. Oh no, that ain't my America. No, 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 no. That ain't my America.
Welcome back. This is the fastest hour on radio. This is the Wednesday night edition of the Patriot Radio Show, and I appreciate you being with us tonight. One more little tidbit on the Human Rights Committee, which is nothing about human rights. It's about getting the right to rape children. And bear in mind, this organization's sponsors are brands that you know, brands that you may shop at, but I hope that you will find alternatives once you get your head around this. HRC has a donor list of Fortune 500 companies, such as Citibank, American Airlines, Nationwide Insurance, Coca-Cola. Right now, they're targeting Southern Christians in Mississippi specifically. Mississippi is the recipient of a $300,000 ad initiative targeting Christian Southerners, the most religious state in America, mostly Baptists, Southern Baptists. All of God's Children is a smaller part of HRC's $8.5 million Project One America, which aims to take their gay message to Arkansas and Alabama as well. The efforts are intended to soften the ground for future efforts. According to Gallup, Mississippi is the most religious state in America. An estimated 55% of the population are Baptists. It's one of the most conservative Christian denominations in the country, and it would be nearly impossible to successfully engage a large majority of Mississippians about gay equality without discussing it in the context of faith. So they're putting it in the context of faith. Well, that should be a no-brainer. God didn't make us to be sleeping with members of the same sex. And you're not going to fool them down in Mississippi. I'll guarantee you that. And coming up next, it's time to impeach Emperor Obama. A great column today by Grace Vuto, V-U-O-T-O. She says, Obama does not have the constitutional authority to this is Obama saying before the election. He does not have the constitutional authority to transgress or alter current immigration laws. And yet now he's governing by diktat, outside the rule of law. He's overriding the separation of powers, overriding the system of checks and balances. His action is unprecedented in American history and is launching us into a full-fledged constitutional crisis. Now, Republicans such as John Boehner, they issue press releases referring to a lawless president, Emperor Obama. Boehner said during a press conference in response to executive amnesty. He says all options are on the table, and yet he's too cowardly to utter the one key word that would put teeth into his threats: impeachment. The Speaker's position is untenable. If a president who acts like an emperor is not impeachable, who is? Even the fiery Texan Ted Cruz, he won't go that far. In a November 19th appearance on Fox, The Kelly File, he said, the president's actions are illegal and despotic. But then he broke into Washington speak, in which serious misdeeds, even crimes, have only nebulous and verbal consequences. In response to the president's actions, he called for blocking his nominees and using the power of the purse. Using the power of the purse to defund amnesty. This simply calls for more gridlock, more government shutdowns, which we'll get blamed for. Obama's illegal gambit will therefore be left standing. He'll proceed with impunity. Somebody once told me he acts like he's above the law. Bull crap. If nobody steps up to put the handcuffs on you, you are above the law. If nobody's going to enforce the law, if they don't have the stones to do their job, then you are indeed above the law. No question about it. But she says, he proceeds with impunity, especially from the perspective of one who, based on the midterm shellacking, was not going to have any governing clout for the next couple of years. He is left to wield unilateral power, largely uncontested. And he'll continue fundamentally transforming America. Now, the only appropriate response, she says, to this assault on our government and the way of life is for the GOP to draw articles of impeachment. The leader must have the courage to present the case for impeachment to the American people. Once a muscular case is mounted, the president's most stalwart supporters, including most African Americans, will have to agree that a line has been crossed. And it has. And they are waking up to that. American blacks are most at risk with this immigration thing. Whose jobs do you think these illegals will be taking? College graduates? No. What few blacks do have jobs will find their jobs going to illegals for less money. Obama's made his play on an issue that has staunch African-American opposition. He's now spurned their core interests, primarily to court favor with the Hispanics and major corporate forces, while undermining national interests. And national interests are being undermined. He's abandoned the low-wage African-American worker for illegals. This outrageous betrayal can no longer justify the loyal support of black Americans. Once the House votes to impeach Obama, it will be the responsibility of the Senate to convict and remove him from office. And now that we have control of the Senate come January, this is a feasible and sensible act. Up until this point, I can see not impeaching him, because what's the point? If Harry Reid won't hear the case or will find him not guilty, then it's just mental masturbation. But once we have control of the Senate, it would be shameful for them not to do it. If impeached by the House, his poll numbers will plummet, even beyond those of the current lows. And if so, many of the Democrats in the Senate will have a vested interest in voting guilty as well.